Time now to get to the business news with Nicholas Poynton. Nicholas, you want to talk about manufacturing today. It's booming apparently, but there are still a few headwinds?
Yeah, a few headwinds on the horizon. The sector, though, as a whole, has really been on a roll these past 4 months. The BNZ Bank put out its measure of the sector today. That's the Performance of Manufacturing Index, and it tells us that the activity in the sector is at a 4-month high and well above its historical average. To add to the optimism, though, the employment indicator shows that jobs are still being added in the sector, which is a really positive sign. The bank's senior economist says that the result has really been driven by an increase in production and a strong order book from firms, which is usually the case in the lead up to Christmas. But it seems that this November is different to previous Novembers. And when I put that to the bank, how they explain that, they said, they really put it partly down to pent-up demand. And as we run up into summer, many people will probably be travelling less overseas, so maybe they're redirecting that money into buying more things. But one of the concerns for the bank's economist, that's Doug Steele, is that while all the categories that this index measures are above the historical average, the delivery of raw materials, that's lagging behind, which suggests that the logistical side of the supply chain is facing some real challenges, which, by the way of the story that we heard earlier today, isn't entirely too surprising when container loads of goods are having to be diverted to other ports. Yeah. But it is worth mentioning that the next week we're going to get those third quarter GDP numbers, and look, BNZ, they reckon that the manufacturing industry, that's going to have a 20% rebound in the numbers. That's compared with a 13% drop in Q2. So look, some optimism there.
And speaking of freighting, there is an issue with high freight costs. So what is this? When you talk about New Zealand exports flooding the market at uber cheap prices, rather than send them off and pay the piper, they're just
they're flooding into the New Zealand market. Yeah, so it's a Friday, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about Stats NZ's food price index. And they say that the border closures, the shortage of RSE workers, and the high cost that you mentioned before of getting goods overseas has seen the price of strawberries squished. The punnet of the red fruit is the cheapest it's been in 4 years for this month. It's at $3.45 per 250 grams. Usually it hovers around the $4 mark. Stats NZ says it's unusual for prices to be this low at this time of the year, because usually December, that's the cheapest month of the year for strawberries, which, look, if this is anything to go by, we may be on for a record month for cheap strawberries when December, for this month, when we look at the numbers in January. Getting a bit confused there. On the whole, though, overall food prices, they are down by 1%. That's mainly as vegetable prices fell by 10%. The big gainers we've seen this month, though, are kiwi fruit. They are up 78% on the previous month.
Yeah, they're like $8 a kilo.
Well, it says here $7.11 a kilo, 86 cents more expensive than this time last year.
For the humble kiwi fruit, compared to what is considered to be
season.
The prima donna of fruits would be cherries and strawberries.
Yeah.
So are cherries getting any cheaper? You got any intel on that? Okay.
Look, I should have brought you a nice little flow chart. We could have both gone over and with a fine tooth comb.
That's interesting.
But for those people who ate out last month, I wonder if they knew that restaurant meals and ready-to-eat meals rose by 0.5%. And while this all is a bit of fun to talk about, the RBNZ will actually be paying quite close attention to this, because food prices are part of the things it will be measuring as part of commodity prices in general, when it pays really close attention to inflation quarter on quarter. And they'll be worried to see if prices are continuing to fall, because that maybe really strengthens the case for more monetary stimulus.
And what have you got for us from the markets today, Nicholas?
Well, look, a record close for the week, and we're inching closer to 13,000. The market finished up 59 points at 12,919. The market was really boosted by a strong update from the Briscoes Group. Our dollar, 71 US cents, 93.9 Australian and 53.3 British pence.
Wow. Thanks, Nicholas. Nicholas Poynton there with our business news.